and welcome to another video going over the top 10 moments from a challenge champion. And in this video, we'll be going over the top 10 from none other than the big beard Brad Fiorenza. Now, this top 10 list is based off of my personal opinion, so if you disagree with this list or where I have things ranked, don't get angry, just let me know down in the comment section below your rankings for Brad. But before we get into the top 10, let's jump into one honorable mention moment that just missed out getting into the top 10, and that is none other than Pizzagate. In season 31, Brad made his return to the challenge after quite a bit of hiatus. And one night when the house ordered pizza, Brad spied Marie taking a whole box of pizza back to her room. Brad was furious, and there was even some arguments that happened between Marie and Brad about this whole situation. After a while, it seemed like things had cooled down. That's when Brad and Brittany went to go have some alone time with each other, and Marie decided to take a box of pizza to them.
Here's a piece of me.
I felt like I had to mention Pizzagate because this is the first iteration in a saga of Pizzagates, and it all stemmed from this first Pizzagate between Brad and Marie. And to me, this is one of a long-lasting iconic moment featuring Brad on the challenge. But now let's get into the top 10. Starting at number 10, we go to the Duel 2, where in season 17, it was Brad versus MJ in the dual pole dancing elimination. Now, there wasn't very much to this elimination. Both men would have to start at the base of this pole, try to climb up it, and be the first to ring the bell. Now, closer to the top of this pole, the handholds and footholds would get fewer and fewer, to where they would have to jockey for position, push each other to get better leverage and to ring the bell. Brad was coming into this elimination having to try to stay focused because prior to their elimination, he saw his now ex Tori be eliminated. So Brad had to say goodbye to Tori and then have to click in to competitor mode. And to me, Brad looked unwavered. He was able to climb faster than MJ initially. MJ was just trying to hold on to Brad's foot as long as he could. And honestly, MJ was able to come up kind of even with Brad at one point, but then Brad was able to push MJ's arm, which completely took him off balance. He let go of the wall, dropping MJ all the way down to the bottom, giving Brad a huge lead to calmly keep climbing and ring the bell, sending MJ home. We're gonna stay with a pole elimination, i.e. a pole wrestle, and instead of Duel 2, we're going to go all the way up to Season 13, Duel 1, where it was Brad versus Big Easy. Now, Big Easy was coming in bigger than Brad. So I'm sure that there was this little bit of David versus Goliath factor to this elimination, but Brad was able to stay calm. He didn't out-exert himself early on in the elimination, but really neither did Big Easy because his whole strategy, it looked like, was that Big Easy was just going to lay on the pole. But when it came down to it, Brad was able to stay calm, get better leverage at one point, figure out the best strategy for going up against Big Easy, and taking this win. We have in season 31, the troubled water elimination between Brad and Victor, where they had to splash a ton of water out of a tank, and then when it came down to a line, they would have to smash the bottom with a tiny hammer. The first to do it would win. Victor really stood no chance with his strategy of punching the water out of the tank, whereas Brad was using his whole body to do the motion of the ocean to splash so much water out to get such a huge lead. To me, rewatching this, it was more impressive than I had originally thought, and he was able to get this win. That is his performance in All-Stars Season 3. Brad had such a good season, winning multiple daily challenges, coming in with a ton of friends who were there to look out for him, and who was ready to send themselves into elimination if need be. Brad played a little bit of a scared game in my opinion, but he played the game to where he never had to see an elimination. He made it to the final and came in second place. And really the only problem I see in Brad's game this season is not taking more shots at Wes to hopefully get him eliminated, but Brad, Nehemiah, and Wes were all groomsmen at each other's weddings. They have been best friends for years that I don't think they would ever have done that to each other. Now at number 6 in the duel, and I think a lot of people are going to find this a little bit controversial to see this in Brad's top 10 moments, but I felt like it needed to be on this list, and that is the Push Me elimination where Brad faced off against CT. All right, let's just call it in the room. CT was dominating this elimination. He was pushing the pole, he was pushing Brad around, but when it came down to it, where he had to unhook the flag, Brad pushed the pole, which then made CT rip the flag instead of unhooking it. Now, I put this in Brad's top 10 moments because he went into an elimination against CT and technically came out victorious. Now, the other aspects of this elimination that I take into a factor when putting it this high on the list is that CT actually picked this elimination. Earlier on in the season, Beth was disqualified the exact same way in the exact same elimination. So coming into the Push Me elimination, both men knew that this could happen. And I believe that Brad was outmuscled. He tried to use all of his brawn to try to win this outright. But when he felt like there was nothing else he could do, he knew that he could try to shake the pole and knew that there was a possibility that CT could rip the flag and be eliminated. Granted, this is deemed a disqualification, but I feel that there was more at stake and there was more to factor into reasoning why this was a top Brad moment and why it should be even on the list. Now we're into the top 5, and at number 5 is not an elimination win. It is not a season win, but it is indeed one of Brad's most iconic moments in challenge history. And we go to season 10, Inferno 2, where everybody is loaded up into the challenge vans to head back to the house after a night at the bar. Somebody told Mike the Miz that he should give somebody an atomic wedgie, which he decided to give Brad an atomic wedgie. When the elastic to his underwear was close to his head, Brad decided to repurpose his underwear.
Here we go! Now it's a necklace!
Soon after this moment though, Brad became somber. His underwear was ruined, everybody was laughing at him, and it led to one of my favorite lines in challenge history.
Congratulations, you're a meathead, son, but you know what? Don't ever put hands on my underwear.
Now moving on to Brad's 4th best moment in his challenge career so far, we have Brad facing off against Frank in the Yanking My Chain elimination in season 31. Now, just like Brad was coming back from a long hiatus from the challenge, Frank was too. The last time we saw Frank on the challenge was season 25 Free Agents, but looking at Frank here, he is still in really good shape, and you know Frank is very competitive and wanted to win. Brad looked like he was shot out of a cannon when TJ blew that horn and the two men started taking off around this structure, and Brad was able to get way farther. Once Brad got his hands on the base, he quickly made his way over to his bell and rang it. Honestly, this elimination right here was so impressive to rewatch. All right, here we are into the top 3, and at number 3, we're gonna go to season 13, The Duel, where he won the Roller Derby Daily Challenge. Just like the name suggests, this was a roller derby tournament style game where there would be 2 men heats and 2 women heats. The winners of each heat will go head to head in a final round. And they were playing for a BMW scooter, so you know the level of competition was going to be high. Brad really wanted that scooter, won his heat, but then CT won heat 2, meaning it was going to be Brad versus CT in the final round. This third and final round was so contentious. Things were getting very physical. They were going back and forth for quite a while, but it was Brad who won this daily challenge and won the scooter. And I think the respect of a lot of his castmates after having to face CT and coming out on top. All right, here we go for Brad's 2nd best moment in his challenge career so far. We go to season 20, where he finally won. Ever since Brad made his challenge debut on season 9, he had been chasing that elusive challenge championship his entire career up until season 20. Brad played a squeaky clean game, not seeing 1 elimination. He was on a really strong team, but they weren't the best team coming into the final. I would say that was the gray team, but once in the final, the red team was much more consistent. They had better teamwork. They were able to stay hydrated, and they didn't have to deal with stoppages or injuries, and they were able to get all the way to the end and win. I knew Brad's 1 challenge championship had to be high up on this list, but there was nothing that was going to stop his number 1 best moment, in my opinion, and that goes to the back-off elimination win against Landon in Season 17, the Duel 2. This was the final elimination of the season. Landon came into this elimination pissed off. He was so mad because he was blindsided by the 3 other men who were in the game because he went off to go get a pen so that they could do ballot voting. Evan, Mark, and Brad all agreed to write down Landon's name. Landon was playing an incredible game, and he felt like it was unfair for him to be in the final elimination. So Landon was coming in ferocious. Now, one major rule of this game is that you have to be going for your opponent's hook. Once you get the hook off of your opponent, you have to then let your opponent go, run over, and try to get the hook on your ring. Landon, who was very angry at this point, in round 1 was wrestling, and he was giving Brad the business to the point where TJ and production had to stop the round, that they said that it was too much, it was too rough, and so they allowed Brad to get the point. But in round 2, Landon evened things 1-1. It came down to round 3, and Brad knew that this was it, and he knew he was going to have to do whatever it took to get this win. Brad and Landon were able to get each other's hooks. Brad kept engaging with Landon, just trying to hold him off, and then he grabbed Landon's ring and whipped it to where it would give him enough time to run across the arena and to latch the hook onto his ring. TJ was so close at blowing this horn to disqualify Brad and give Landon the win, but it was all about timing and really about luck as well as strategy. This is by far one of the most genius plans. I put this as Brad's #1 challenge moment over him winning a challenge season, because in Landon's 4 seasons on the challenge, he is a 3-time champ, only have been eliminated from 1 season and only lost 1 elimination. And that one person was Brad. To me, that's more impressive than Brad winning Cutthroat, but that is just my opinion. What do you think about this top 10 rankings of Brad's challenge career moments so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. I do want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more challenge top 10 moments, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.